Some stories slip past headlines. They don't make the evening news or front page of the paper. But once in a while, a quiet act of kindness, small, almost invisible, can ripple outward and touch lives in ways no one ever imagined. This is the story of Jenny Millers, a 29-year-old waitress living a life of routines, of lonely nights and long shifts. She never expected her simple kindness, just a plate of pancakes and a smile, would one day bring 4 black SUVs with government plates to her tiny diner in Kansas, changing her life forever. Jenny's life followed the same rhythm every day. Wake before dawn, walk 3 blocks to Rosie's Diner, tie on her faded blue apron, and greet the morning regulars with a practiced smile, a smile that hid the loneliness behind it. She lived alone in a 1-bedroom apartment above the pharmacy. Her father had passed when she was 15, her mother 2 years later, and the aunt who raised her had moved away to Arizona, leaving Jenny with little more than holiday phone calls and the occasional letter. Her life had become small, predictable, invisible, until the boy arrived. It was a Tuesday in early October when Jenny first noticed him. He couldn't have been older than 10, small for his age, with a backpack far too large for his shoulders. He sat in the corner booth, farthest from the door, a book open in front of him. The first morning, he ordered only a glass of water. He thanked her with the tiniest nod, so small it was easy to miss. The next day, the same. The third, the fourth, the fifth. By the second week, Jenny knew his pattern. Every morning at 7:15 sharp, he walked in. 45 minutes before school started just 3 blocks away. He would sit, read his book, sip his water, and watch as other customers ordered steaming stacks of pancakes, crispy bacon, scrambled eggs, and golden toast. At 7:59, he always closed his book, whispered "thank you," and left, having eaten nothing. On the 15th morning, something changed. Jenny placed a plate of pancakes on his table, pretending it was a mistake. "Oh, I'm sorry," she said. "The kitchen made an extra. Better to eat it than waste it, right?" The boy froze. Suspicion flickered in his eyes, but so did hunger. Jenny turned away before he could protest, watching discreetly from behind the counter. 10 minutes later, the plate was empty. The boy's eyes stayed fixed on his book, but his voice barely whispered, "Thank you." From that day forward, it became their ritual. Pancakes one morning, oatmeal with brown sugar the next, scrambled eggs and toast on Fridays. The boy never asked, never initiated conversation, never gave his name. But every single morning, he ate. People noticed. "Who's that kid you keep serving?" asked Harold, a retired postal worker, one morning. Jenny shrugged. "Don't know, but he's hungry." Kathy, who worked the grill, warned her. "You're feeding a stray, Jenny. Kids like that disappear. Don't get attached." But Jenny didn't care. She knew hunger. She had felt it before. So she kept serving him, silently, without questions. By the 6th week, Jenny's kindness caught the attention of Mark, the diner's manager. He pulled her into the back office. "I've been watching you," he said. "You can't give away free meals. It's bad for business." Jenny twisted her apron nervously. I'll pay for it. Out of my tips. Mark frowned. You barely make rent. Jenny's voice was firm. It's my choice. After a long pause, Mark sighed. Fine. 1 meal a day. But if it causes trouble, it ends. Jenny nodded. It was enough. From then on, she quietly set aside part of her tips each night, money that might have gone toward a winter coat or the dentist. She chose instead to feed the boy. Then, one morning, he didn't show. Jenny kept glancing at the door, waiting. She still set a plate of pancakes on his booth, just in case. But the seat stayed empty. The next day, still nothing. A week passed. 2 weeks. Jenny's heart sank each time she walked past his booth. See? Kathy muttered. Told you, strays don't stay. Jenny didn't argue, but the ache in her chest told her Kathy was wrong. This boy hadn't just disappeared. Something had happened. One afternoon, Jenny discovered someone had posted a photo online of the empty booth with the caption, Rosie's Diner, now serving imaginary charity cases. Comments were cruel. Publicity stunt. That waitress is being played. Feeding strays just creates laziness. Jenny sat alone in her apartment that night, staring at the screen, stung by their words. For the first time, she doubted herself. Was she foolish? Was kindness without answers a mistake? Searching for comfort, she opened the small wooden box that held her father's belongings. Inside was his old journal from his Army medic days. On one page, he had written, Shared a half ration with a local boy today. Johnson said I was crazy. Maybe, but the look in his eyes was the same as mine when Mom saved me the last piece of bread. No one grows poor by sharing half a loaf, but those who forget to share remain hungry their whole lives. Jenny closed her eyes, tracing the words with her fingers. Her father's voice echoed in her memory. No, kindness was never wasted. On the 23rd morning of his absence, Jenny walked into the diner with her expectations low. Still, she set a plate of pancakes at his booth, a quiet hope. Then, at 9:17 a.m., the diner went silent. 4 black SUVs with government plates pulled into the lot, moving in perfect formation. Doors opened. Uniformed men stepped out, standing at attention. From the lead vehicle emerged a tall man in a dress uniform, his chest heavy with medals. His presence filled the room before he even entered. The bell above the door chimed. The entire diner froze. "Can I help you?" Mark stammered nervously. The officer's eyes scanned the room. "I'm looking for Jenny Millers." Jenny set down the coffee pot, her hands trembling. That's me." The officer removed his cap. "Miss Millers, my name is Colonel David Reeves, United States Army Special Forces. I've come on behalf of Master Sergeant James Thompson." The room held its breath. Colonel Reeves stepped closer, pulling an envelope from his breast pocket. "The boy you've been feeding, his name is Adam Thompson. His father was one of the finest soldiers I ever served with. Jenny's voice cracked. Was? The colonel's expression tightened. Sergeant Thompson was killed in Afghanistan 2 months ago. A hush fell over the diner. Jenny and knees weakened. She had never asked the boy's name, never his story. Now suddenly it all came crashing in. After his father deployed, the colonel continued, Adam's mother left, walked away. The boy survived alone until you fed him every single morning. He handed Jenny the envelope. Inside was a letter. Sergeant Thompson's last words.
Who gave my son breakfast. She never asked why. She just fed him. Tell her she didn't just feed a hungry child. She preserved the dignity of a soldier's son. Jenny's tears blurred the ink. She clutched the letter as Colonel Reeves stood tall, saluted her, and said, "On behalf of the United States Army and on behalf of Adam, thank you." Behind him, every soldier raised their hand in salute. The diner's customers rose to their feet in silence. Jenny, the invisible waitress, stood in the center of it all. The story spread like wildfire. Newspapers picked it up. Social media lit up. The same people who had mocked her now praised her. Mark, once skeptical, placed an American flag above Adam's booth with a plaque, reserved for those who serve and the families who wait. Letters poured in. One came from Adam himself. "Dear Miss Jenny, I didn't know your name until the colonel told me, but every morning you looked at me like I wasn't invisible. Dad always said heroes wear uniforms. I think sometimes they wear aprons, too. Thank you for remembering me when I couldn't say why I was alone. Your friend, Adam." Jenny framed the letter. Quietly, not for show, just as a reminder. A year later, Jenny found a small token on her counter, a Special Forces challenge coin, engraved with 2 words, Semper Memor, always remembering. She slipped it into her pocket, feeling its weight. No, kindness had not been wasted. It had rippled outward. It had mattered. Sometimes the smallest act, just a plate of pancakes and a smile, is enough to change a life. And sometimes it's enough to change the world. You might forget this story in a few days, but if nobody retells it, it disappears forever. That's why we share these moments, because kindness, justice, and memory are worth protecting until the very end.